We put in for the test and we brought it back and it said get a hold of the health department.
Anderson says he had the water tested at the urging of an acquaintance that's been researching PFAS in the area.
They were worried about heavy chemicals and metals in my water because this used to be contaminated around here. And it was all cleaned up, and they're worried about getting in our wells that are down there. My well's 250 feet, and it still reached it.
He says the testing showed 9 parts per trillion above what is considered safe. Anderson says since that discovery, he's been drinking bottled water and just hooked up to the city's water supply.
I would like answers from this city on what they were supposed to be doing, and from the people that are contaminating the ground. What are they going to do about it?
The city's utilities director, Jeffrey Dietland, says right now there isn't much information to share.
There's just some misinformation that maybe we're hiding stuff. We're not. We have no information.
They have offered to test the other 2 homes with private wells in the industrial park area, and the state is now getting involved.
The state of Michigan is going to conduct a mini survey in the area. We're going to test about 20 homes in the direction that we believe the groundwater flows, homes on what would be the edge, and see if they find anything at that point.
Anderson says he's just concerned for what comes next.
They said they're a forever chemical. I don't know what it's going to do to my body as I get older. Is it going to age faster? Am I going to develop cancer, arthritis? Any of those things could happen to us. We want to know how much it's going to affect us in the future.
A northern Michigan man who recently discovered unsafe levels in his drinking water says it's been confusing getting answers on where to go to test for the long-term effects to his health. JT Anderson Jr. has lived in the industrial park area of Cadillac for the past 16 years and recently discovered higher levels of PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, in his private well water than what's considered safe for consumption. He is since connected to city water, but he still worries about the lasting impacts and says he's been jumping through hoops to find the answers on where and how to get tested. 9 and 10's Jody Meeson has more details.
I've experienced the thyroid problems, the kidney problems quite a bit in the past, and that's why I want to get further testing done, because hopefully there's something that can clean this out of your system.
JT Anderson Jr. says getting information on testing for PFAS in his system has not been as clear-cut as he would have hoped. He contacted District Health Department number 10 for a blood serum or a lead test, and they referred him back to his doctor. But his doctor referred him back to District Health Department 10, saying they don't test for PFAS at the doctor's office.
They do not do that at your local doctor's office. You have to go to the health department and get a blood serum test done through Quest Diagnostics.
When he called Quest Diagnostics, they told him they need the test ordered through his doctor. After calling his doctor again, he was sent a link on where to order the test. He says he's frustrated by the lack of answers by the local health department.
You shouldn't have to ask so many questions. If you take a bad water test up there, they should offer you a blood serum test, whether you've got money or not, and figure that out later, but be concerned about the health of everybody.
Anderson Jr. says the test is not covered by insurance and costs $350. That's another expense on top of the $290 they paid out of pocket for PFAS water testing. 9 and 10 reached out to DHD 10, but they declined our request for an interview, saying that they don't conduct lead testing for PFAS and would refer them to the State Department of Health and Human Services. They also did not respond, but on their website they do have a little information on PFAS testing. Here's what we found. You've likely been exposed to PFAS because they're found in many household and commercial chemicals. According to a recent study, more than 98% of Americans have some amount of PFAS in their blood. The CDC recommends that if you live in an area that's known to have high levels of PFAS in your drinking water, you may have more PFAS in your blood than the average person. MDHHS says doctors cannot currently predict health problems related to PFAS based off of a PFAS blood test. And there was no clear-cut guide for you if you wanted to get tested for PFAS in your blood. MDHHS referred you back to your doctor. For 9 and 10 News, I'm Jody Meeson.
It's not a guarantee, but I'm more susceptible to it, so that's where I'm at.
A concerning update to a story we've been covering since September about a northern Michigan man who recently discovered unsafe levels of PFAS in his well water. He just received results of further testing on the impact it's had on his health. J.T. Anderson Jr. has lived in the industrial park of Cadillac for the past 16 years. Recently had his well water tested at the urging of a friend. After finding unsafe levels of PFAS or forever chemicals in his water, he decided to get further testing done to see if it's taken a toll on his health. And what he discovered, he says, is disappointing and frustrating. 9 and 10's Jody Meeson has more details on this still developing story.
I was surprised. I really didn't expect it to be in there. I was hoping it was just a minor damage from the water. Now I know it's in my system for good or until it works its way out.
J.T. Anderson Jr. says he was shocked when he found out the results from a blood serum test he had done.
The scale goes from 0 to 20. They want 0. 2 is acceptable, and everybody under 2 is normal. And I'm at a 5.83. So I'm like a quarter of the way up the scale.
Anderson says tests show a 25% higher chance of getting cancer, liver disease, or other health-related illnesses because of the higher levels of PFAS he's been exposed to. He says there's not much you can do to reduce the exposure levels.
Over time, this will disappear, but it can be anywhere from 5 to 30 years. They're telling me to monitor my blood work more often. In case anything happens, we can attack it sooner than later if there is a problem. Besides that, she said there's nothing we can really do.
Anderson has lived there with his wife for 16 years, raising a family and having visits from his 13 grandchildren.
My wife said she's definitely going to get tested.
He says the blood serum test costs about $350 out of pocket. And although doctors don't test for chemicals, they can check the health of your organs and your blood. He hopes to have his grandkids checked out by a physician to see if they have any symptoms from PFAS before shelling out the big bucks. Anderson has connected to city water, although he says he plans to get further testing of other chemicals outside of PFAS that he says are just as harmful.
They're heavy metals. I don't think metals are good for your system.
He says he's considering hiring a lawyer, but right now he's just focusing on his health.
I just want a healthy life. I would rather go later than sooner because I enjoy it.
Anderson urges anyone with a well to get tested.
Please get tested because PFAS is forever chemicals and they're very harmful. They can cause all these cancers.
In Cadillac, Jody Meeson, 9 and 10 News.
The utilities director of Cadillac, Jeff Dealent, says the Local Development Finance Authority, also known as the LDFA, is holding a public meeting Friday afternoon. The LDFA is in charge of the groundwater cleanup in the industrial park area. Dietland says there will be a number of topics covered, including the testing that they've done so far, the results, and where they plan to test in the future. He also says they will be reporting the feedback citizens gave at the town hall meeting on Wednesday night. An investigation was started after unsafe PFAS levels were found in a private well at one of those homes in the area.
I think we're doing everything. I think we're, bringing awareness to it, being open in our meetings about what we're looking at, and open about the numbers we're seeing, I think is all a good thing.
The meeting tomorrow starts at 1 and is expected to last until 3 o'clock. It will be held in Cadillac at the municipal complex.
We've went out and tested in the area for PFAS. That's a big concern currently.
More discussion today surrounding the presence of PFAS, or forever chemicals, found in Cadillac's industrial park area. The concern surrounding the source of those chemicals has been a hot topic since unsafe levels were found in a private well at a home in the area. J.T. Anderson Jr. has lived in the industrial park area for 16 years and says he was surprised by what they found. He has since connected to the city water supply. In addition to that, tests of Anderson's blood serum showed he has a 25% increased risk of getting cancer, liver disease, or other health-related illnesses because of his exposure to the chemicals. The city and the state have been investigating to find the exact source of the PFAS. 9 and 10's Jody Meeson was at today's meeting where the city's utilities director gave a report on what they do know. She has our continuing coverage on the problem and what the city plans to do next.
The wells, they all showed some PFAS in them.
not a huge amount.
Cadillac Utilities Director Jeff Dietland gave a report to the Local Development Finance Authority, known as the LDFA. They oversee the cleanup of the industrial park area. Julie Theobald, a Wexford County Commissioner, was appointed to the LDFA board back in May.
We have a Superfund site that the LDFA is kind of in charge of, and we're really trying to get some of those different chemicals out of our groundwater, out of our ground even.
Dietland says people were concerned the source was coming from the industrial park area. He says the testing they've done, they have not identified the source.
Although we did find some PFAS, it was extremely low, which is a very good indicator for us that it isn't a contamination source that we found out in our LDFA area.
He says the Michigan PFAS Action Response Team is testing 70 homes with wells in the area.
North of 13th Street, there's a subdivision in there that some people have wells, and then we're going west of Leeson a little bit, and then south of Wright Street.
Dietland says that information is going to determine the course of action the city takes in the future.
We do not have those results back yet.
He says right now there is no smoking gun that they can point to. At the meeting, he asked the LDFA board if he can do more testing of wells for further investigation, which was approved.
PFAS is in everything. If you have a Teflon pan, you got PFAS. If you have a fast food wrapper, it's going to have PFAS on it. I heard parchment paper has PFAS on it. If you waterproofing your boots, you're using PFAS. So it's in everything. It gets out in the environment.
Dietland says it may be one single point of origin or a bunch of them. Theobald says if you have a private well, you might want to get it tested. She says she was surprised to learn that information at Wednesday's town hall about the PFAS being in so many common items.
City water, there is 0 points of PFAS in it, so that those don't have to be concerned. But I know there's a lot of wells out there.
In Cadillac, Jody Meeson, 9 and 10 News. Adam, Alicia Hole says she was surprised to find out her home was one of those with higher levels of PFAS. Now, the city says they're closely monitoring that situation, as well as the potential of lead in some homes in Cadillac. Now, they say their water system is fine. It's the private pipes connecting to the water system that's causing concern for lead.
We're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern. I know the state went out and did 20 more tests. I think the results are in, but they haven't published them yet.
Cadillac's Utilities Director Jeff Dietland says the latest heat map showed 2 homes that were at unsafe levels, according to the Michigan PFAS Action Response Team, known as MPART.
There'll be green dots, which means nothing was detected. Yellow dots, which means something was detected, but it's below the state limits. And then it'll be red dots, which means there's something was detected and it was above the state criteria.
One of those red dots belongs to Alicia Hose. Hose has lived on Marathon Drive in Cadillac for more than 20 years. She says how she found out was frustrating.
I was never contacted, and so unfortunately, after numerous phone calls, I did find out that that was my address. And so then I had to call around and reach out to find out what would be the next steps.
Right now, she has more questions than answers.
I'm definitely concerned of, how long I've been drinking it, how long I could have been notified a long time ago to where I could have possibly looked at filtrations for my whole home, which is what I'm doing now.
As she continues her research, the city has also been informing some residents of a potential of contamination of lead in their drinking water.
Of the 3,500 that we have accounts, 300 were unknown, 100 of them were galvanized pipes. The state of Michigan considers either an unknown pipe or a pipe that was galvanized and to be lead.
Dietland maintains that the city water system is fine, but some of the private pipes connecting to the system are a cause for concern.
We just have these 400 homes. We did not know what their private line was coming into their private dwelling.
Dietland says those residents they deem as unknown have already received letters notifying them of the potential last month. Live in Cadillac, Jody Meeson, 9 and 10 News.